Well, do keep your Bibles open at that page. We'll be looking at those verses and some others from around the rest of the book of Proverbs as we think about words. Now, I can remember being on holiday as part of a church trip from this church. I was about 15, 16, and we did it for a few more years, 17, 18. And it was a regular theme of conversation that the weather in Keswick is so bad that the gazelle was damaged in the rain and the wind, and so we couldn't sit under it anymore. We would also talk about how gazebos gracefully run across the savannah. I wonder, what did you have for breakfast this morning? What did you put in your bowl? You see, I often say that you put squirrels in there, and it's cereals that climb trees and store nuts for the winter. Now you're confused. Good. I had a terrible day yesterday. My phone had a bat flattery. I slept through my alarm and hissed my mystery lesson. Of course, what do I really mean? I had a flat battery on my phone. I missed my history lesson. It's really easy to play with words. In fact, all the way through that, you were probably thinking, what did you say? What do you mean? Some people are very good with words. I am not one of those people. Most of us find it easy to get words wrong, to make simple mistakes, like switching all or part of words, which is what happened all the way through that conversation. Of course, you don't put a gazelle up in a garden. It's a gazebo. And gazebos don't run across the savannah. That's a gazelle. And it's cereals we have for breakfast and squirrels that climb trees, hopefully. This morning we're thinking about words, and because we're in the book of Proverbs, we're thinking about how to talk about things, how to do them well or wisely. And words are a good place to start. We thought about wisdom a few weeks ago in general. Well, words are the next biggest theme in the book of Proverbs, and they overlap. The idea of words overlaps with so many areas of life. There's very little you can do without words. Logan will eventually find it very frustrating if he can't communicate because he hasn't learnt the words yet. They're an amazingly useful tool. And words are a really interesting thing, particularly these days. Have you noticed? Words require someone to read or listen them for them to have any meaning, and we seem to live in ways that actually listening to someone speak is not very important. It's at least on equal importance with what we can see or watch, usually on a screen maybe. If you think about it in a general election campaign, what the politicians have to say is of very little value, and that's not just because it might be a lie, but because actually you take more note of who he's with and what he's wearing, or at least according to the news. But words are important. As Christians, as God's people, we need to be committed to words and using them well because our God is a speaking God. We have a God who communicates. From eternity, there has been God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in eternal relationship. Eternal in what, if you follow me, communication. From the eternal Trinity that has been there from before there was even anything in the world, well, God, his word is powerful because he spoke and the whole universe came into being. We sang it in our first song. He spoke, creation came to be. It is God who saves through his word. Down through the ages, God has spoken to people and sought to make it possible for them to know how to be in a relationship with him. Hebrews chapter 1 says this: in the past, God spoke to our forefathers through the prophets, and many times and in various ways, but in these last days he has spoken to us by his Son. That is Jesus. So we believe in God whose Son is the Word, because we read at Christmas, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. In fact, it doesn't end there. A few words later in the same verse, who came from the Father full of grace and truth, because words are no good if they're not true. And finally, one final reason words are really important. God created us able to understand words. The Bible describes us as made in the image of God, and with that comes the ability to understand words and a unique position in the world. No other creature can both understand and communicate in words. Nothing in the whole of creation communicates in words. It allows us to relate to him and to speak to each other. It's a mark of humanity to be able to use words. And as we come to the book of Proverbs then, we thought a few weeks ago how Proverbs is the wise God giving his foolish people the wisest king that we might live wisely. These words are written by a king, and the wisest king, even wiser than him, is Jesus. And so we should care what he thinks about how we use our words. So God, who creates and saves through his powerful word, wants us, every single one of us here, to be people who use words well. Are you someone who uses words well? Well, here's how we see. I've got 3 things that tell us what people who use words well are like. And I should have picked an easier phrase. That's going to turn into such a tongue twister, isn't it? People who use words well. Well, people who use words well know their power. You see, words can be used for lots of things. And the first thing we're going to think about is that they can be used for good or ill. And so, hopefully, you've all got your service sheet. I know the last few people to arrive didn't get one because we'd run out. But you should notice you've got 2 colours. You've got a white bit of paper and a purple bit of paper. And we're going to use those to answer some questions with. It's a multiple choice quiz. Yes. So you want to find your sheet. What I want to know is, are these ways of using words for good, wave your white service sheet, or for ill, you wave the purple questions, okay? We all got that? Have you got your sheet? So, here's a verse from Proverbs. From the fruit of their lips, people are filled with good things, and the work of their hands brings them reward. Is that a way words can be used for good or for ill, do you think? To work hard, to produce good things. Is that a good way to use words? White service sheet, maybe? Or bad example of using words, purple sheet. Yeah, you can wave the sheet. You can do that. Okay, next one. Anxiety weighs down the heart. Here's it. But a kind word cheers it up. White or purple? What do we think? Yes, it's white. That's a good thing. I know that because I wrote it in green, so I remembered. Next one. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 3. Those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin. Yes, it's only the third one. And what have I done? It's a trick question. There's 2 halves to that one, isn't there? The first half, you probably want to wave your white sheet. If they guard their lips, they preserve life. But the purple sheet, those who speak rashly, that's quickly, without thinking, come to ruin. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath. Yep. But a harsh word stirs up anger. Purple sheets, thank you. Okay, 2 verses this time. Like a madman shooting firebrands or deadly arrows is a man who deceives his neighbour and says, I was only joking. Good way of using words or bad way? A bad way. Purple sheets in the air, please. Proverbs 26:20. Without wood a fire goes out. Without gossip a quarrel dies down. So not gossiping. Is that a good way to use our words to avoid gossip? Or bad? Yes, lots of white service sheets in the air. As charcoal to embers and as wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. Yeah, purple, thank you. A lying tongue hates those it hurts. and a flattering mouth works ruin. Good way... Oops. I deleted that one. Never mind. Oh well. We'll stop there then. I was only carrying on because I thought they were in the slide. Let's move on. The point is this. The phrase we've heard from being tiny, sticks and stones may break my words, but words will never harm me, is garbage, isn't it? Words have power far more than sticks or stones. They can hurt, they can damage, they can scar. We need to never do something, speak recklessly and think, well, it's only words, it's not like doing something, because words can really hurt. As I said, all of those phrases are from the book of Proverbs, which was sort of pulled together and part of it written by King Solomon, a wise king who ruled God's people. Here's something else he says. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Words that are hurtful can be remembered for a lifetime. Promises that are broken can provoke great disappointment, even anger. Words can bring great confusion and misunderstanding. And whilst they can spread messages far and wide, what kind of message do our words share? That's the first power of words. They can be used for good things and bad things. I've got something else. You see, words will also reveal our hearts. Here's another verse from Proverbs. Proverbs 26:23 says, like a coating of glaze over earthenware are fervent lips with an evil heart. That picture is putting a glaze over a sort of rough pottery, of a rough pot. It makes a really rough and uncomfortable surface to hold, that, you know, that sort of surface that makes you shiver when you hold it, that sort of thing. Makes it all smooth and easy to touch. It tries to cover its nature. But within a matter of verses, Proverbs compares that to how malice is concealed by deception and wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Which is a Bible Old Testament word for the public gathering where, at the centre of the town, the key place where everybody sees everything. Of course, even if you've never read Proverbs, you may recognise that Jesus says something similar. He says, Matthew 12:34, for out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. How we use our words shows what our heart's like. Here's a little story that I heard, and I think it's amazing, so I'm going to tell it. There was a General de Gaulle was the president of France, and he wasn't a fan of modern art. On one occasion, he was taken into a gathering, and surrounding them on the walls were loads of pictures by Pablo Picasso, of whom he was not a fan. As he went round looking at every frame, he didn't have a good word to say. Hideous, ugly, 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 all the way around the room. And as he walked through the room, he just glanced at the last one on the wall, and without really paying attention, he walked past and went, and that one is particularly hideous, and walked on. It was rather unfortunate when a moment later one of his entourage says, no, General, that wasn't a painting. That was a mirror. I told you it was a good one. It's completely stolen, it's not mine, and I don't even know if it's true, but it's worth telling because it illustrates the point. Words and how we use them can illustrate our heart, whether we're following the King or not. So we're going to sing a song. It's a song by video, which means we're going to try and do some actions that have also played out. So if you'd like to stand, we're going to sing one more song before we finish thinking about words. The actions, as I say, and the words will be on the screen. And over to the tech team. So, we've thought about people who use words well, know their power. And if you know their power and how they can be used incorrectly, that should make us use them carefully, shouldn't it? Now remember, Solomon, this king, started out as an excuse-making, inadequate feeling king who didn't think he could do the job. And it was only when God said, "Ask me for anything," that he asked for wisdom so that he could be a wise and good king. And God answered that prayer. If God can make Solomon wise because he asked for wisdom, he can do the same thing for you and for me. James, one of Jesus' brothers, wrote this many, many years later. If anyone considers himself religious and yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself and his religion is worthless. So, if we're going to use words carefully, we should speak words of life and not words of death. Proverbs 16:24 says, "Pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." And we thought about some good examples of how to use words right at the beginning when we were waving our bits of paper. Don't worry, you're going to need those again in a minute. A kind word cheers up, a gentle answer turns away wrath. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down, and an honest answer is like a kiss. Here's some other good ways to use your words. Romans chapter 10, this is after Jesus had died, says, "If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved." So let's think, using our papers again, how might we use our words today? So remember, the white sheet's for something good, the purple sheet's for something bad. If I was to say something that is true and encouraging. Yes, thank you, good. Philip's awake, I'd like to hear that. What about if I was to say something false and trying to upset somebody? Yeah, that would be the purple one, wouldn't it? What if your younger brother or sister comes into your room without permission and you say, "Get out, dummy"? I'll be a while off for Aidan having Logan running and doing that, but remember, it's a purple sheet thing. What about instead if they were to say, "I'm busy, can we play later"? You see, much better. Yes, so that's a white sheet one. What about when mum or dad won't let you do or go somewhere you want to go? What if you were to say to them when they say no, "I don't care what you say, I hate you"? Purple sheet. Not a good example. What if you were to say, "Well, I really do want to do that. I don't like that you've said no, but you are mum and dad or dad, whoever, and I will trust you"? That's a white sheeting. That's a good thing, isn't it? What about when you're playing a game at school, maybe football? I've been on the receiving end of this one. What about if someone makes a mistake and costs a goal? Way to mess up. Can't you do better than that? I'm not having flashbacks, honest. Or what about, "It's okay, we all make mistakes. Keep trying"? Yeah, that's a white sheet, wasn't it? What about sharing secrets that someone's told you that are not secrets, that are about keeping them safe? Well, that would be a purple sheet thing, wouldn't it? Obviously, if it's a secret that affects someone's safety, you probably do need to share it. That would be a white card thing to do. What about responding with unkind words, calling someone names? Purple sheet. What about answering with kind words when someone says something nasty to you? The white sheet. What about when we realise we've upset someone, maybe at church, maybe at school, and so we go to them the next day and say, "I'm sorry"? White sheet, good, well done. What about if we go, "Oh, well, I've upset them, too late, that friendship's over, never mind"? Purple sheet, yeah. You see, we should speak words that are, and if you're part of our church, we're going to think about these in the middle of the week a bit more, words that are honest and not false. Proverbs commends speaking few words rather than many words. Speaking words that are pure. speaking words that are appropriate. And as I say, we're going to think about that at our life groups this week. Let's think about that specifically. If we were to speak, that means not telling stories about people. Remember, without wood, a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down. To gossip is to try and make someone look bad. Well, the reality is you just make yourself look bad, don't you? We read the verse that an honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. Honest answers are an act of love and of closeness. And when we use wrong words, sometimes you can't undo it. And so I need 2 volunteers. It's a really simple task. Do you want to know what it is first? We always do. Your challenge is this. First volunteer. I'd like you to just get all of the toothpaste out of the tube. I've got a plate. Would you like to come and just... You can be as crazy with it as you like. I can even bring it to you. There you go. Yeah. So as quick as you can, all of it out if possible. Oh, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't do this at home. Okay? There we go, that's close enough. Right, let me have that back. Because the second volunteer needs it. Okay, ready? Go. Thank you very much. So the second volunteer, do I have a volunteer yet? Do you want to come do the other half? Oh, in. Would you come do the other half? Come on. Go on in. Your challenge is to put it all back in. Don't worry, I've got some things to help you with. So? No? What's the problem with what I've asked Aidan to do? You're not going to get the toothpaste back in the tube. Sorry, you don't have to. Thank you. And that's what using wrong words is like. Once they're out, they don't go back. Yes, you can say sorry and you can try and mend things, but once we've said things, they are out. So how can we use words carefully? Well, it's an old one. We need to speak carefully. We can use the word think to help us think about what we say. Is it true? Whoops, too many clicks. Is what I'm about to say true? Is what I'm about to say helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it going to make them want to do things? Is it something that will serve as a model or as a warning? Will it be helpful? Is it necessary? Like, does it need to be said? Is it going to do more harm than good? Okay. Is it kind? Or am I just being mean? James, again, this is New Testament, this is after Jesus. Jesus' brother helps us think about it this way by saying, my dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen. Slow to speak, gives you time to think, there we go. And slow to become angry. And then when we're thinking about words, we don't just speak words, do we? We actually quite often have to write them. Particularly, we have to type them. And how easy is it to type a text or a WhatsApp or something similar and then not be able to take that back either? I mean, I know how embarrassing it is when I send a message and I just haven't proofread it and the autocorrect has changed a word. But what about if I've actually accidentally said something that I might regret? What about if you've written something about someone? What if we post something and thousands read it? What if we share something online that is perhaps something that you don't really want to share because it doesn't help people see someone else in a good light. It was a mistake they made, not a deliberate thing to hurt you. All they did was call you the wrong name or get confused as to whether you'd lost or gained weight or whatever. And also then, words, well, we listen to them, don't we? So actually we need to be careful. We need to think, are the words we're hearing good, helpful, inspiring? Now, I don't know about you, but all that sounds quite tricky. Who's managed to do that, all of that absolutely perfectly all their life? Oh, maybe I started at the wrong end. Who's managed to do that absolutely perfect for the last 10 seconds? I think I might just have managed that. Right, what about the last hour? Day? Week, month, year, lifetime? No. To have wise speech, we need wise hearts. And the book of Proverbs tells us that if we're not looking to God, well, actually we have foolish hearts. But we can look to God, who will help us use our words well. We thought at the beginning of this book, it starts out with this big motto: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Fear of the Lord is to wisdom what beginning to count or learning the alphabet is to reading and writing and mathematics. But at the root of our issue of how to use words well is our heart. And our hearts, the Bible tells us, do not come to us. We're not born with them in a good state. They may be perfectly healthy, they usually are, but the Bible describes them as deceitful, above all things, desperately sick. And so we need God to change our hearts, to save us from the selfishness and the determination to put ourselves at the top of everything that it's marked by. And when we put our faith in Jesus and ask him to forgive us for that, the Bible gives it that word sin. It means shove off God, I'm in charge, and no to your rule and your way. Well, he will give us a new heart and the Holy Spirit living inside us to help us learn to use our words well. And then we can spend our time reading and studying and meditating on God's word, the Bible that we're looking at this morning, so that our hearts are filled with his words that guard us from sin and help us use our words well. Well, we're going to pray.